It's the Las Vegas Sports Line.
All right, here we go. It is the Monday edition of the Las Vegas Sports Line, our Monday afternoon quarterback edition. Only a few of those left this season. I'm Dave Cokin. Marco DAngelo is here. Matt Holt makes his return to the show. We haven't had Matt on in a long time, and Matt is now the head man with U.S. Integrity, and we'll talk to him about what that is and about the weekend, and we might even sneak in some Red Sox talk. Yeah. Because, pitchers and catchers reporting to camp soon, and Matt and myself among the two biggest Red Sox fans in the city, Marco.
Yeah, well, he's also a big Patriots fan, so I'm going to have to listen to him chirp about the Patriots, and, you know how I feel about the Patriots with my Steelers.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's a pretty good day to be a Patriots fan. I don't really care. I've been doing this for so long, it really doesn't much matter to me as far as allegiances go in any sport other than baseball, but they were good yesterday. Ari Platinum, by the way, producing the show. So let's do a little Monday afternoon quarterback, and we may as well start there because, and I'm not saying this with any bias, the most dominant performance of the weekend was turned in by the Patriots. They absolutely killed the Chargers in that game, and I'm hearing all this, Phillip Rivers can't win the big one. That wasn't on Rivers, okay? It really begins with the fact the Chargers never could figure out what the hell James White was doing. And he caught 15 passes yesterday. You can't let one guy catch 15 passes. And look, the Patriots out-game-planned them and out-executed them, and it was a complete blowout. 31-13, whatever the final score was. What was the final? That was the Chiefs-Colts.
It was 41-23.
41-23. I knew the margin was 18. It wasn't that close.
Actually, 41-28. It was 13. It was the most dominating 13-point win you will ever see in your life. And, it's funny, Dave, you had everybody that was, there was a lot of people on the Chargers. I mean, it was the popular side with a lot of sharps.
As we'll talk about with Matt, this was a good game for the books.
Absolutely. And it's not how often can you say the books need the Patriots?
Well, what happened is that everybody bought into this theory being espoused on virtually every national show that, the Patriots era is done.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you saw Twitter after the game. Everybody that all the Patriots fans were out there in full force. I had guys actually, when you get trolled on Twitter, it's fun. I mean, these guys get creative. I had guys actually typing word for word lines that I said from the video or the podcast this week in there and throwing it back in my face. I was on the Chargers. I'll admit it.
I never knew what to do with the game because I wrote it up as a free play, but it was, and I noted that this is strictly an opinion and it's not something I'm backing. And what happened in a sense was what I feared happening. And I still will say this. I think the Chargers have more talent than the Patriots at this point. But I was worried that the Chargers don't win big games, and Belichick and Brady do all the time. And that happened again.
And Belichick over Lynn is an absolute mismatch. I mean, that's the one part of it that is there.
He's the best. And you can pick any coach or any manager in any sport, and point to mistakes they make.
Right.
And Belichick makes his share just like anybody else. But overall, he's the best football coach who's ever lived.
And give him 2 weeks to prepare with the week off and everything else. And, maybe, we talked about it. We pointed out that it was a concern. The Chargers travel. Maybe it did catch up to them, some years. They came out of the gate, gave up that opening drive that the Patriots
and you knew right away. It's like, this is not – even when they tied the game, it was like –
which it was a play, a broken coverage, okay? And that's all they got until the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just turning a page, and we'll see what happens now that New England's got to go on the road. They got to play Kansas City in Arrowhead. It's the second game, so it's going to be get that crowd going there. They finally broke that jinx as far as the playoff goes. And you know what, Dave? Sometimes when you finally get that monkey off your back, then you can just roll forward after that.
And there's a really good reason they got that monkey off their back, which is that they have the most dynamic young quarterback to come into the league in a long time in Patrick Mahomes. He is sensational. It's not just the physical tools, too.
The throws that he makes on the move are unbelievable.
His instincts, it is just his football IQ, well, this is anything IQ. This is obviously a really smart guy. But his ability to make decisions in the blink of an eye is really quite amazing.
And Andy Reid's, he's not played conservative. Let's give him credit for that. And he's going to need to do that this week against the Patriots because, no matter what the score is in the game, the Patriots will still be coming if they're not already on top. They're going to keep attacking even if they have the lead, the Patriots, because Belichick knows how to go here. But let's give, you talk about the phrase ice water in their veins. This guy, unbelievable. Mahomes.
He's just
he has not shown
great.
anything of a quarterback that just completed literally now his first season.
Yeah, it's incredible, and he's just a keeper. This is no fluke. I mean, you're looking at if he stays healthy, he's a Hall of Famer. It's that simple.
The running game looked good for the first time since they got rid of Kareem.
Everything looked good, and I think this was the big surprise. And I'm not putting any of this on the elements. Their defense played really well in this game.
They shocked me, and they played to stop the run, and they took the run away from Indianapolis, and it just surprised me that Frank Reich didn't change his game plan. He tried to stay with his game plan, and one of the commentators even commented during the game that when they talked to him, before the game, pre-stuff. He said, we have a plan and we're going to stick to it. And we, even if we fall behind, we have confidence in what we're going to do. I'm sorry. When you get out there and you see they take it away from you, you got to do something to change things up. And then when they got in 3rd and longs, they put pressure on Luck that we haven't seen this year. Bad game plan by Frank Reich.
Yeah, and a great execution on both sides of the ball by Kansas City. They looked like a championship-level team. So did the Rams. That was only a 10-point game.
But they dominated.
The Rams kicked the snot out of the Cowboys in that game. And this is the surprising thing. Part of it is the fact that they're an L.A. team, and you always have a tendency to conjure up an image of a finesse team when it's a Los Angeles team. That's just the way it is. It's kind of one of those images that's indelibly etched in your mind, and it's tough to change it. And going into this game, the prevailing thought was, well, Dallas can win this game by being more physical than the Rams, and they're the more physical team.
Right.
They weren't the more physical team. The Rams beat the daylights out of them at the point of attack. They ran for like 9 million yards in the game. And the game actually was closer than maybe should have
you had to. If you had the Rams, you had to sweat the cover.
I know.
A big time you had to sweat the cover at the end. This is a spot that they changed the role reversal. You looked at Dallas as the team that runs the football and plays good run defense. Yep. We know that the Rams can run the football with Todd Gurley, but you saw that
O.J. Anderson.
Yeah, that was a big surprise with C.J. Anderson.
C.J. Anderson. Yeah. O.J. Anderson at this point, probably not a great running back.
You might be able.
Let's
not go there. But this is a spot where he got more carries than Gurley got, which tells me Gurley's not 100%, and they're doing this to get the most mileage out of him that they can through the playoffs, and it worked well because what a game Anderson had. And for the Cowboys, what happened to their run defense that we saw all year that was supposed to be so good? That was the difference in this game. They also
didn't really get to Goff at all. No. The Rams' offensive line.
But when your running games going that well, Dave, you're going to have time passing the football because now they're so concerned about stopping the run. Yeah. It's slowing down the pass rush. And he had a game.
The offensive line, to me, gets the MVP.
Yes.
For the Rams. They were absolutely outstanding in that game at every aspect.
And their defensive line played really good, too, because they kept Dallas in check for most of the game until, it got close at the end. And this is going to be an interesting game going to the Saints on Sunday,
and
rematch.
Finally, we will talk about the Saints, who I kind of like what they did right at the outset in that they went, from the very first play, they went for the jugular.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Breeze underthrew the receiver, who was wide open, by the way.
Right.
If he puts that where it's supposed to be, it's 7-0 out of the gate for the Saints, and who knows what happens after that. But it gave Philadelphia confidence. The Eagles took advantage early. The Chiefs kind of got back on their heels.
They dominated the first quarter.
They did. I mean, the Chiefs, the Saints were in real trouble in this football game. But reality took over starting in the second quarter, and from that point on, New Orleans was the much better team. In fact, as it turns out, It's almost kind of lucky. If you had Philadelphia, it's a good thing you got the quick start. Otherwise, you probably get blown out in the game.
Yeah, but yet they were in position to win the game at the end. If
they had a chance.
If Jeffries doesn't, the ball goes through his hands, and then it's a tip.
I still don't know why they rushed that play, which sometimes when you rush things, something bad happens, and they didn't have to run that play.
They could have let it go to the 2-minute warning. Go regroup, and then you could call a couple plays on the sideline and have everybody on the same page. Plus the fact you don't want to, if they were going to score,
you
they
don't want
had
to be in a hurry.
Right, they had 2 minutes. There's plenty of time where they were at on the field.
Right. Ideally,
and they had and they had a timeout in their pocket. Yet you don't want to leave anything for Breeze.
No, ideally you want to score with 20 seconds
so
left
that's
in the game.
one mistake Peterson made. But let's go back where you said that, reality took over. What took over was a big set of you-know-what by Sean Payton to go on the fourth down play where they were in their own territory. They were at the 30-some-yard line, and they're down 14-0. And he said, we need to make something happen. Most coaches don't do that, Dave. And he would have got crucified if he didn't make it, but they made it.
Let's go to the Monday. MJ Christensen, 4-4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Celtics and Nets get things started in the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets are proving to be a pesky team. Yeah. They're almost at 500, which I didn't think would be the case for the Nets at this point in the season. So, they're not a walkover, and the Celtics have a tough task in front of them tonight in Brooklyn.
They do, and this is a great situational spot, Dave, because Boston just beat Brooklyn a week ago by 21 points. It was a bad spot for Brooklyn, but now it's a bad spot for Boston because Brooklyn's rested. They haven't played in 3 days, and Boston's got Toronto on deck. Big game for Boston, and here's a little stat with that revenge game. Brooklyn, 27-13 against the spread, revenging a loss versus opponent of 10 points or more the last 2 seasons. I'll take Brooklyn.
Big Ten action tonight. Nebraska takes on Indiana. This is a big game for both these teams because neither one of them is going to win the Big Ten. So games like this are really important if you want to get that at-large entry into the NCAA tournament. Very tightly lined. I think Nebraska's the slightly better team, but it's a tough call for me either way.
I like Nebraska, and I'm glad you said they're the better team because, Dave, I think the wrong team is favored. I think this is one of those cases that Indiana is favored just because of that name, Indiana. Nebraska's an up-and-coming team. I like them, and I'll tell you what they do. They take care of the basketball. Last 5 games, they've only had 39 turnovers while forcing 65 turnovers. You get those extra possessions, it comes in your favor. I like Nebraska to win this one outright.
We should have an open here for whenever one of these comes up, like trumpets blaring in the background, and an announcement that it's Marco DAngelo's situational play of the day. And I send a rundown the prior night as to what we're going to talk about, but I have no idea. Not talked to Marco at all about this game, but I suspect I know, based on Marco's handicapping tendencies and some of my own as well, where both of us are in this basketball game as Florida State takes on Pittsburgh. Seminoles coming off a rather big game that did not end well.
Really? Big game on Saturday?
It was their first time at home against the number 1 team in the nation in 8 years, and I did watch a good part of the game, and the atmosphere was electric in Tallahassee.
And they did everything until somebody hit a 3 late.
And after a replay review that put time on the clock.
Yeah, this is a spot is how do they pick themselves up 2 days later, go on the road. And I'll tell you what, Dave, situationally-wise, go against Florida State, no question. But I'll tell you what else, Dave. This Pitt basketball team is not the Pitt basketball team you saw last year.
Capel's doing a nice job.
He is doing a hell of a job.
I love what Capel said in today's Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I am one who reads. If there's a pregame story or a postgame quote, that's what I spend my time doing. It doesn't take me long to do my numbers. And I loved what Capel said coming out of the...
I didn't see it. What did he say?
Coming out of the NC State game. He said, there's no more of this inexperience. These guys have played half the season. He's even talking about 2 guys who would be high school seniors right now who are in the lineup. And it's like, that's not an excuse. We got to win these games. Because they had chances against NC State and didn't get it done. So he's being strict with these guys, and I like that.
Well, don't sleep on this team. They're going to get better week game by game, Dave, because he's basically got all freshmen in the lineup. He's got one senior in the lineup, and their leading scorer, 3 of their top 4 scorers are freshmen.
Right, and 2 of them, again, are guys who took the whatever the Bryce Harper route is, and they're being